Hello, I'm Therese Coffey, Member of Parliament for Suffolk Coastal.
Therese, thank you very much indeed for talking to Women's Parliamentary Radio here today in Central Lobby. We're here to look at the launch of your report, and it's called
Building the Executive Pipeline of Talent, the Future of the Women on Boards.
Well, let's look at the future of women on board. Since the Lord Davis report, you as a Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition government asked him to give annual reports on women in the boardroom and their progress. How have we progressed in the past year?
Well, there has been a huge improvement. Only 5 FTSE 100 companies do not have a woman on the board. However, the reason for doing this particular inquiry and subsequent report is that principally most of the female directors are non-executives, and there are only 3 chief executive officers in the FTSE 100 who are women.
And that's right, and we sometimes hear when women step down from leading their companies, we haven't got any women CEOs at the top on the FTSE 100 anymore. Does that concern you?
It does concern me. Obviously, women make up 50% of the talent, 50% of the customers, 50% of the shareholders through pension funds and similar. And more importantly, McKinsey came out with some key research which showed that there is a greater correlation between improved financial return and having a diverse board.
And so that's us as women, as consumers, and if you have women on the board, they can articulate the views of women. For instance, that older women want fashionable clothes too, perhaps beyond size 14, that we won't get all these male decisions on our behalf. Is that right?
Well, it's not simply about thinking about female customers. It is about bringing the talents of people together. There are known female traits, there are known male traits, and it's that combination that actually produces a greater whole. And that is why McKinsey was able to show the increasing diversity does improve financial returns. And ultimately, that's what investors want, it's what a company wants. And the key issue at the moment is the pipeline of talent coming through is not good. It's worse in the professional services. If you're a man, you're 9 times more likely to become a partner than a woman. However, what we want to start off with is some of the recommendations that we've made today, issuing challenges to companies, challenges to women themselves, and also challenges to the government.
OK, so if we look at those recommendations from your report, Building the Executive Pipeline of Talent for Future Women on Boards, which you've co-launched with Mary McLeod here today in Westminster, but you say that we need more detailed data on CEOs and boards. We actively need to encourage women to plan their careers, both the sponsorship and mentoring, and we need to sort of action the business-led case for women on the boardrooms, and the government will provide a more supportive environment voluntarily rather than through legislation, and that government will encourage careers advice to close the gender skills gap. Has that got it? Have I summed it up?
Well, I think that's a good recognition of many of the recommendations we've made. Ultimately, a company will do things that generate good returns. And I'm not saying that current CEOs want to see women not do well. That's not the case. But some of this is about highlighting the business return they can get. But anything in business has to come from the top, the leadership there. And that is why we're looking to have more reporting 3 levels down from the executive board to say how many women have you got coming through your pipeline. And that often will be an eye-opener for, I'm sure, many board directors and the chief executives themselves. And it's that kind of level of reporting that we're looking to see. In terms of other things about ways you can achieve that, we recommend unconscious bias training. What will you do about women and men who want flexible working time, career break, and maternity leave breaks? How do you keep women current? And one of the large parts of evidence we had is that women are no less capable when they come back from maternity leave, but they've kind of missed a year of what the latest thing is going on in the company. So thinking about that.
The careers advice is interesting, putting the onus on women themselves to think about sponsorship of their careers and mentoring, which used to be a luxury, but now making them part and parcel of having a career as a woman if you want to get to the top.
Well, in any walk of life, politics or wherever, you don't just sit back and get to the top. Even if you are talented and super bright and super charismatic, you have to go out and do that hard stuff, the mentoring, get a mentor, Find a sponsor. A sponsor on the board is a really important part of that. Take advantage of coaching. Be prepared to manage your career. Get yourself not just always in the marketing department or the HR department, but get yourself into areas where you do run a P&L and you're accountable for budgets. That thing. So it is about, self-help. Sisters can help themselves and take advantage of opportunities that are there. When it comes to the government side, one of the things where we think we can help early on is be more proactive in our careers advice, especially to women, to young girls, making sure that the entire opportunities out there are available to you and that you don't cut off your options early on when you take your GCSEs. And actually businesses can also come in at that point as well to, again, open up the world of opportunity.
And just one of the comments you made about the report launch, that we've got 3 female FTSE 100 CEOs, is that right?
Yes, that is. And
you were on a director of a board?
Well, I was a director of a subsidiary of Mars, but I won't pretend to be on a dizzy heights of Mars Global Finance Director. It is opportunities there, and I do believe that by government extending the reporting requirements, that would help. Another issue that came up in the inquiry was the whole issue of childcare. Nobody will be surprised. There are about 100 solutions that were put forward on how we fix that. What we do like is the government's tax-free childcare policy that they've announced, and we'd like to bring them forward by a year to help people now. Frankly, once you're already a finance director or a CEO, you can afford a nanny. It's when you're in your lower rungs of management, that's when people really struggle.
Well, let's just go through those figures again. The Lord Davis report in 2012 talked about 17.3% of women on boards, up from 10.5%. 94 boards had female representations. Do you think that perhaps the structures of boards prohibit women rising, that actually they don't want to work in the same way as men? Do you think there's a gender difference with how companies are structured?
No, I don't. I think it's just we need to keep pressing avenues. People assume they won't get to the top because they take a career break or want flexible working. It's kind of changing that dynamic. And
finally, Therese Kofi, a word of advice from you to women who want to go on board. What about if they think, it's all so testosterone-led, they don't want to do it? Is there anything you think that stops them? Maybe rejection, coping with rejection, not getting the job when the man gets it more easily. What is it that stops us going up in a company?
If I knew that, I would be a coach rather than perhaps an MP, but ultimately, I don't know if it's fear of rejection. I don't think it is particularly. I think it's expectation and assumptions, and we should burst those. When girls leave school, they shouldn't just be thinking about getting to university. They should be thinking, I want to be the next leader of the Royal Air Force. Be high in our ambitions and be realistic, but also plan for it. You've got to make the running yourself as well.
And the careers advice in schools will tackle that as well?
I think it certainly will. Only 9% of girls take physics GCSE. If you don't take physics, you immediately cannot be an engineer, and all these other things. So people close down their careers options very early, and actually there's a great future out there.
Well, Therese Kofi, as you continue your busy career as an MP, thank you very much indeed for talking to Women's Parliamentary Radio here in Central Lobby.
Thank you.
Order, order.